Hey guys, Vesting the Mindset Mom here, and today we're talking about why do I feel so disconnected in my Aspie relationship. Those of you who are in a neurodivergent relationship, sometimes you feel very disconnected. Your partner doesn't seem to be meeting you where you're at, and you're trying to get down to the bottom of it and find out, is this person really for me? Are they attracted to me? Are they having an issue with the relationship? What is going on? I feel so disconnected. And so we have all of the potential pitfalls of getting into a relationship, right? Boy meets girl, they fall in love, it's supposed to just go happily ever after. But those of you know that you're in a relationship either with someone you suspect has Asperger's syndrome or has been diagnosed actually, or you are in a long-term relationship or even a marriage, and you are coming through your Alice in Wonderland phase where confusion has set in and you're just swirling and you're just trying to figure out what is going on here. So, but you're feeling a lot of times the number one red flag, whether you're in a short-term or a new relationship or a long-term relationship, is that you feel this sense of disconnection and you're trying to find out why. So with people on the spectrum, they have a tendency to do masking. Now, if you are unfamiliar with masking, go back and watch my video on masking so that you can find out what the person has been, how they've become used to masking, what it is, and why this is their default mode over a long period of time. That's kind of the chronic thing to look at, right? But you're seeing situations in your relationship where you just feel really, really disconnected. Number one, a lot of you might be feeling like you're being ignored, okay? Feeling ignored is one of the number one complaints that I hear from people who are in a neurodivergent relationship. Now, with those on the spectrum, you have different reasons for the possible ignoring than for somebody who is not on the spectrum. And there are even differences between those who have ASD and those who have CPTSD. Now, those two conditions can coexist in an Aspie. I just want to let you know that. But today we're just dealing with the Asperger's syndrome aspect so that you can start to pull apart and make sense of what exactly is going on. There's a cat jumping over the fence out there. That's why I got distracted. So anyway, we keep it real here on Mindset Mom. So you want to find out, why am I feeling ignored? Well, there could be several reasons. Number one is masking. If you have that going on, it's kind of like a setting event for your Asperger's syndrome person, okay? Whether they're male or female. And there are sex differences. Women tend to mask a little bit more than men, and we're going to get into some other communication patterns. But the other reason that you might be feeling ignored in your relationship is that your Aspie is experiencing a shutdown. Now, shutdowns typically happen after like a meltdown. It's like a cycle. Like the person goes through a meltdown, they might have an argument with you, they might have it's almost like a tiny little temper tantrum. They might just, be frustrated, they might express that frustration in any number of ways, whether appropriate or inappropriate, and just like neurotypicals, okay? But then after that following down, it seems like you're getting the cold shoulder. What is going on? This is typical, okay? This is typical for Aspies to go through a meltdown followed by a shutdown period where you think the person is manipulating you by using the cold shoulder technique. Now, a lot of neurotypicals use this, but it's helpful to understand what's going on in your ASD partner's brain, because what's going on is typically a meltdown is the melting down or the dysregulation of their nervous system followed by an extreme amount of stresses or a trigger, okay? So it can be an accumulation of things, and then they go through this shutdown period. You have to understand that, first of all, your Asperger's syndrome person's preferred state is to be by themselves. And so they have learned masking techniques, they have learned ways to interact with people, but now they default to an even more preferred state, which is to be by themselves or to withdraw into their own world, okay? So especially after a stressful situation or a meltdown, your ASD partner will withdraw, and they will actually go into themselves or go into their little world. You might see them like, you know, on their phone for like hours, just enveloped into an online world. They might do gaming for really long periods of time. They might not return your texts. They might not return your phone calls. They might go into another room if you happen to live in the same in the same house. And they just go and they do their own thing, whether it be a hobby or their preferred obsession. And you're wondering, what in the heck is going on here? And when is my partner going to start engaging with me? So you have to understand that, number one, usually when they get to that point, it is because they've used up all their spoons. Okay, we have a certain amount of spoons, we have a certain amount of energy and a certain amount of like brain energy and physical energy that we can devote to things. And all of us have this. But for the Asperger syndrome person, they are all used up when it is connected to like work or interacting with people, especially people at work in a work situation. And it takes a considerable amount of switching. It's like a transitional. So some people can transition quickly going from, say, work to a social environment. Like you're going to go get cocktails with your friends after work, or you come home from work and you're with your partner, and then it just like flows nice and easily. It's not so with someone on the spectrum. For someone on the spectrum, it takes a considerable amount of energy and mental ability to be able to switch over and transition into that different kind of milieu. Okay, so I hope this is helpful, because you can understand that you don't have to take it so personally. You can understand what's going on with them, that there was a setting event that happened, or they're just trying to transition and they're using up all their spoons, okay? Maybe they had a stressful day at work. Maybe the bills are piling up and they're trying to solve some sort of life problem that they don't know how to deal with. And now they look at spending time with you. I want you to know this, they look at spending time with you now, whether they're able to transition quickly or not. They look at it as another demand on their energy, their mental energy and their physical energy. And so this can be helpful, knowing that, okay, I can see what's going on. And so sometimes it's going to be really helpful if you can kind of take a step back and like become the objective person that's observing everything going on and say, okay, something is going on. And those of you who've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that I always say journal, write down the patterns that you notice with patterns of behavior. So you're going to put on your science hat, your scientist hat, and you're going to actually be writing down what you observe, the behavior that you observe that's going on with your partner, and see if you notice a pattern. I notice a pattern that right after work, boy, that is just when anything will set them off, right? You just say the wrong thing or even look at them the wrong way, and they are either have a meltdown or they just retreat to their room. They're like in crab territory, right? I'm just going to retreat into my shell. So what you need to be aware of is that you did not necessarily cause this behavior. And in fact, always, you did not cause this behavior. I want you to make that like your mantra. I did not cause this behavior in my partner, because you can't take responsibility for somebody else's stuff. You can't take responsibility for their thoughts, their emotions, their well-being, or their response or their behavior, right? So it's important to know this, because then that can you can just let it go. Unburden yourself to know that something else is going on. The next thing to know is that you can give that person space, but also you can communicate with them about what is the, of course, I suggest you do it when they're not in a meltdown state and not in a shutdown state. You can talk to them about what is a way that we can reconnect. What way would you prefer that we reconnect after, say, a period of transition, or after you've had a rough day, or after I've had a rough day, and to discuss this in a time where it's not like, you're fired up or your partner's fired up about something. And so if you can set the ground rules, it's always really good idea to set the ground rules. That's just a good way to set healthy boundaries in a relationship. Set the ground rules for, okay, when I notice that sometimes when you come home from work, you're a little spent, or you need some time by yourself. How long would you like to take for yourself, and how would you like to reconnect with me? Would you like for us to make a meal together? Would you like for us to sit and listen to some music quietly? Would you like us to just come to the table and have a nice cup of tea and just talk about our day. So this can be very, very helpful. And again, you are on the path to self-actualization, you are on the path to recovery yourself, and on the path to decide if this is the relationship that is meant for you, the relationship that you would like to have. And so all that being said, I just want to let you know that, it is possible to have a healthy relationship with someone on the spectrum. There are certain conditions that need to be met, such as you need to be willing to unlearn and learn some things, and your partner needs to be willing to unlearn and learn some things as well. I highly recommend that if your partner has not been diagnosed, or even if they have, to get them in to see a therapist or an expert so that they can be on their path to self-actualization. You want to encourage that, and I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks with you on how to encourage that without seeming like the nagging parent, okay? That's really key. And so, but there is hope, because if your partner, everyone has brain plasticity, right? Our brains are very able to be able to change and connect and make new systems of neurons that are, that they can become new patterns, new habits, and new behaviors, so that you can get the most out of your relationship. And this may take time, and it takes considerable effort, but your job is to be a scientist and a detective and find out how open and how willing is my spouse, partner, or potential partner being receptive to making these changes, learning these new ways of, these patterns, these new ways of communicating, these new ways of being, these new ways of participating in a relationship. Okay, does this make sense? So I hope this was helpful, and please, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and click the bell notification so that you can know when I upload a new video. And we're going to be talking about lots of topics that are going to help you in your relationship, help you to navigate this neurodivergent relationship. It is possible. There is hope. I'm on your team, and this is me signing off, just reminding you to live brilliantly. I'll see you next time.